Steve, can I tell you about something embarrassing that happened at work last month?
Always.
Okay. So, my manager sent an email asking if anyone would be willing to lead a new project. It was going to take up several hours every week for 3 months, on top of everything else. And I did not want to do it. I was already stretched thin, and yet I replied within 5 minutes. Sure, happy to help. And then I just sat there staring at my screen thinking, why did I do that?
The yes came out before you even checked in with yourself.
Before I even finished reading the email. And the worst part? 3 months later, I was exhausted and a little bitter. Not at my manager, really, just at myself. Because I said yes. Nobody made me.
That gap between the yes that comes out automatically and what you actually want is exactly what we are talking about today.
Because I do not think I am a pushover in general. I have opinions. I make decisions. But when someone asks me for something just switches off, and the yes comes out.
And this happens to so many people. Today we are going to look at 3 things. First, why the automatic yes happens and where it actually comes from. Second, what always saying yes costs you over time, because there is a real price. And third, how to actually start saying no without feeling like you have done something wrong.
That third part is the part I need.
Let us start with the first one. You said the yes came out before you even finished reading the email. So what is happening in that moment?
When I think about it honestly, it is not really about the project. It is about what happens if I say no. Will my manager think I am not a team player? Will she like me less? Will she start to see me as someone who does not contribute?
So you are not avoiding the project. You are avoiding the feeling you are afraid of if someone reacts badly to your no.
Yes. And I know logically that those fears are probably bigger than the reality. My manager would have been fine if I had said no. But in that moment, the fear is very real.
And there is a word for the habit of saying yes, even when you do not want to, because you are trying to keep everyone around you happy. We call that being a people pleaser. People pleaser. P-E-O-P-L-E-P-L-E-A-S-E-R.
A people pleaser. Someone who makes decisions based on what other people want, rather than what they actually want.
Right. And the thing about being a people pleaser is that it does not feel like a choice. It feels like a reflex. The yes comes out automatically, like a switch was flipped, before the thinking part of your brain gets a say.
Which is exactly what happened to me.
And behind that reflex, there is almost always one thing: fear. Fear of disappointing someone. Fear of seeming unhelpful or cold. Fear that if you say no, the other person will think less of you.
Or that they will not like you anymore.
Right. And there is another thing connected to this: feeling obligated. Obligated. O-B-L-I-G-A-T-E-D. It means feeling like you have to do something even when you do not want to, because you are afraid of what happens if you do not.
That is the word. I felt obligated. Like saying no was not an option that was available to me.
And yet, nobody told you that. Nobody said you had to say yes.
It was just this feeling, like an invisible rule.
And the tricky thing is that the feeling of being obligated is very powerful. But it is a feeling, not a fact. You were not actually required to say yes. You felt like you were.
And I chose 3 months of extra work to avoid 10 seconds of discomfort. When you put it that way, it is a little absurd.
It is. But I also want to say, this is not about being weak or lacking confidence. People-pleasing usually starts for a reason. For a lot of people, saying yes and keeping others happy was a way of feeling safe, of keeping the peace, of being liked. And that learned habit is very hard to unlearn.
It is genuinely automatic. I do not decide to do it.
Which is why just telling yourself, say no more, does not really work. You have to understand what you are actually afraid of.
Okay, so what does always saying yes actually cost you? Because I felt the cost, but I could not have named it clearly.
The most obvious cost is energy. Every yes that you did not really mean takes something from you. And if you keep giving your time and energy to things you did not choose, you start to feel burned out.
Burned out. Like a candle that has gone completely dark.
Exactly. Burned out. B-U-R-N-E-D-O-U-T means feeling completely empty and exhausted, usually from giving too much over a long period of time. And when you are burned out, there is nothing left for the things you actually care about.
So the things that matter to you, your real priorities, they get whatever energy is left over.
Which is usually not much. And there is a phrase for what happens when you say yes to too many things at once. Have you heard spread yourself too thin?
Like butter on toast. If you try to cover too much toast, the butter gets so thin you can barely taste it.
Exactly. When you spread yourself too thin, you are doing so many things that you cannot do any of them well or enjoy any of them fully, because most of those things were not your choice.
I felt this during that project. I was not bad at it, but my heart was not in it. I was just going through the steps.
And there is one more cost that I think is the most uncomfortable one to admit. When you always say yes, when people know that you will not say no, your help stops feeling like something special. It starts to feel expected. It becomes the default.
Oh, that is hard to hear.
Because you are working so hard to be liked, to be seen as helpful. And in the end, people around you just take for granted that you will always be available.
So the yes loses its meaning.
Completely. And there is something that can build up over time. Resentment. Resentful. R-E-S-E-N-T-F-U-L means feeling bitter or frustrated, usually towards someone or a situation. And when you keep doing things you did not want to do, that bitter feeling builds.
And the strange thing is, the resentment is not really at the person who asked you. My manager did nothing wrong. She just sent an email.
The resentment comes from the yes you did not mean. From saying yes to avoid discomfort, and then living with the consequences of that yes. And that is actually why being honest, saying no when you mean no, is more respectful to both people than the yes you do not mean.
Because a reluctant yes with hidden resentment is not actually kind.
It is not. Okay, part 3. How do you actually start saying no?
This is the part everyone is here for.
Let us start with something that sounds simple, but is actually very powerful. You do not need to explain yourself.
Wait, really? Not at all?
You can if you want to, but you do not have to. Most of us feel this pressure to give a long, detailed reason when we say no, as if we need to earn the right to say no by offering enough justification.
Oh, I do this constantly. I cannot come to your thing because I have this other thing, and also I have been really tired, and the timing is not great, and I just really need to…
And the other person is usually thinking, it would have been fine if you just said you could not make it.
That is both embarrassing and very accurate.
And here is why we over-explain. When we pile on reasons, we are not giving information. We are asking for permission. We want the other person to say, yes, that is a good enough reason. I understand. But the truth is, you do not need their permission to say no.
We are looking for approval.
Exactly. And the phrase I want you to sit with is this. No is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence. I have heard that before, but I have never really believed it until now.
It means the word no by itself is enough. You can say, "I am not able to do that," and then stop talking. You do not owe 10 more sentences of explanation.
But what if they push back? What if they ask why?
Then you can say, "It just does not work for me right now," and leave it there. That is a complete answer. You are not lying. You are just being clear. Without going into detail, you do not owe them.
Okay, but I want to push back on something. Because I believe all of this logically, and I still feel guilty when I actually do it. The guilty feeling does not just go away because I understand the theory.
That is completely real, and I want to be honest. The guilty feeling does not disappear overnight. But here is what makes it smaller over time. You train your brain slowly with small no's.
What does a small no look like?
A friend suggests a restaurant you do not enjoy. Instead of going along with it, you say, "That place is not really my favorite. Can we try somewhere else?" A coworker asks you to review something urgently when you are already in the middle of something important. You say, "I cannot get to that right now, but I can look at it tomorrow morning." Small moments, low stakes.
Little no's.
Little no's. Because every time you say a small no and the world does not end, the other person is fine, nothing falls apart, your relationship is still there, your brain slowly starts to learn that saying no is safe, that the thing you were afraid of mostly does not happen.
You are teaching yourself through experience that it is okay.
Exactly. And here are a few phrases that are genuinely useful in the moment. The first, "I am not able to do that right now." Simple and clear. The second, "That does not work for me this time." No reason, no apology, just an honest statement. The third, for when you want to keep the relationship warm, "I really appreciate you asking, but I cannot this time."
I like that one. It is not cold. You are still being kind. You are just being honest.
And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you can offer an alternative. "I cannot do that this week, but I could help next week if that still works." You are not saying yes to everything, but you are showing that you still care about the person.
That feels doable. That is not being unhelpful. That is being honest in a kind way.
And one more thing about setting a boundary, which is really what all of this is. Setting a boundary means knowing what you can and cannot give and saying so clearly.
Setting a boundary. Not a wall, just a clear line about what works for you.
Right. And the people who truly care about you will respect that line. They will not be angry, they will understand. And if someone reacts very badly to you simply saying no to one thing, that tells you something important about that person.
It does. If a person cannot handle a no, that is something worth noticing.
Okay, let us do a quick vocabulary review before we close.
Yes. First, people pleaser. P-E-O-P-L-E P-L-E-A-S-E-R. Someone who tends to say yes to keep others happy, even at the cost of their own needs. It is not a character flaw. It is a learned habit, and habits can change.
Feel obligated. O-B-L-I-G-A-T-E-D. When you feel like you have to do something even when you do not want to, because you are afraid of what happens if you say no.
Burned out. B-U-R-N-E-D-O-U-T. Completely empty and exhausted from giving too much of your time and energy over a long period. Like a candle with no flame left.
Spread yourself too thin. Saying yes to so many things that you cannot do any of them well or enjoy any of them. Like butter stretched over too much toast.
Resentful. R-E-S-E-N-T-F-U-L. That bitter, frustrated feeling that builds up when you keep doing things you did not want to do. Usually not at the person who asked, at yourself for saying yes.
Set a boundary. To know clearly what you can and cannot give, and to say so. Not a wall, just honesty.
And of course, no is a complete sentence.
Let us bring it all together. Why do we say yes when we mean no? Because we are afraid of how it will feel if the other person is disappointed. Because we have learned that saying yes keeps us safe and liked. Because the yes comes out before our thinking mind has a chance to check in.
And the cost is real. You get burned out. You spread yourself too thin. You start to feel resentful. And your yes stops meaning anything.
The way forward is not to become someone who never helps anyone. It is to make sure your yes is real, that when you say yes, you actually mean it.
And to give yourself permission to say no when you do not. I want to share something. After that project ended, I made myself one promise. The next time someone asks me for something, I'm going to pause for just a few seconds before I answer. Long enough to ask, do I actually want to do this?
That pause is everything. The space between the question and your answer is where the real choice lives.
Because when my yes is a real yes, a choice I actually made, it means something. It is a gift. But when I say yes out of fear, it is not a gift to anyone.
So your challenge for this week. Think of one situation where you have been saying yes, but you really mean no. Just one. And practice saying no to that one thing.
Give yourself that pause. And remember, no is a complete sentence.
Thank you so much for listening today. We hope something from this episode gives you something real to take into your week.
Take good care of yourselves. We will see you next time on Steve and Abby English.